Sometimes I will make a prediction and I sincerely hope that I am wrong. And then I turn out to be right and I'm very disappointed. Last week is one such example. I got on the program and I told you that I expected there would be a massive increase in left wing violence, and boy, has it been a week. I didn't expect to be proven correct quite so fast, but we almost immediately saw a couple of really concerning developments. The most concerning of which is, of course, the attack on the Christian church, which it seemed to have been led, orchestrated, or something by Don Lemon, the former, what was he, CNN guy? Ridiculous. We saw that. That was at the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, where a whole bunch of lunatics stormed in. They harassed the poor churchgoers in a house of God. This is pretty crazy stuff. We also saw Jake Lang, who admittedly has some questionable tactics that he deploys from time to time, some opinions that I may not share. But we did have Jake Lang on the show one time while he was still locked up. I believe at that time he had just gotten out of solitary confinement, if I remember correctly. He was in prison. He is a former J6er, one of them which was pardoned. Not a big fan of Islam. I don't disagree with him at all in that regard. Islam is incompatible with the West. But anyways, he went and he may have been like burning a Quran or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But he was in Minnesota. They nearly lynched the guy. They nearly literally ripped him limb from limb. He was seen being stabbed. He was wearing, thankfully, he was wearing, I guess, a plate carrier with some plates in it. And it looks like the stabbed or attempted stabbings landed on the plates, which quite possibly saved his life. He was spit on, beaten. People were hitting him in the head with large wooden poles, kicking him in the head. They were cowards. They're always cowards. They're like a pack of hyenas. They ran up behind him on top of like a retaining wall so they could kick him in the head from above and kind of from behind. He had a big, huge gash. His head was split open. They nearly ripped his pants off. They were grabbing at him so viciously that they literally nearly ripped him limb from limb. If it wouldn't have been for just a couple of bystanders, he probably wouldn't be alive right now. So we're seeing an escalation, certainly, of violence coming, basically exclusively from the radical left. And so it's deeply concerning. I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to be proven correct, especially not as quickly as I was. But this should be a little bit of cold water in the face for everybody out there, especially pastors. That'll be the main theme of today's show. It's time to wake up. It's time to recognize that the barbarians are at the gate. Prepare yourself accordingly, act accordingly, because unless something seriously changes, we are headed toward a precipice. Somebody is going to have to give way, and Lord knows it better not be us. In other news, we have an amazing resource which has been rolled out by DHS. We're going to go over that. Some of the worst offenders. They have a new website highlighting all of those. Feel free to use it. I shared it on my Twitter or my X, this link. It's dhs.gov/wow. And it shows some of the worst of the worst. We're going to go through a grab bag. So stick around. We'll grab from it and we'll see who are the first, maybe, 10 people that pop up on this new DHS resource that have been arrested. Illegal aliens. We've got some rapists, no doubt. We've got drug dealers, murderers, insane people. That sort of stuff. If we get a little bit of time today, we will also be talking, hopefully, about Virginia. Again, kind of driving home the point. Democrats they're not here for a sparring match. They're here for blood. This is winner take all. And if, God forbid, the Democrats get back into power, we will all hang together, And so anyways, we have a lot to talk about. As you can tell, today's going to be an exciting show. To anybody who's watching the program over on YouTube, take this opportunity, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. It helps in the algorithm. And I always joke, but YouTube, for some reason, is not a friendly platform to me. So that would be helpful. For radio listeners, I love you guys. You are still in my heart. Be sure to share it. Share the Real Talk Radio Network with everybody that you know. Make sure that we're getting this information to those who very desperately need it. We have a country to save, my friend. And of course, before we jump in all the way, I want to start off the best way I know how. That's by taking just a minute to give glory and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I am a wretched sinner, and it baffles me why the good Lord still chooses to use me, a very flawed individual. He continues to use me for his purposes, and no glory to me, no honor to me, all glory, all honor to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, the only firm foundation that you could ever build your life on. Now, with that note, let's jump in because we have some pretty serious stuff that we need to talk about, especially to the churches. My main message here at the opening is going to be to the pastors. And there are many great pastors in this country, so if I'm not talking about you, please do not think that I am talking about you. If the shoe does not fit, in other words, don't wear it. But to the cowardly pastors who have sat idly by and they've pretended as though they can just stick their head in the sand and ignore the enemy and the enemy will eventually go away, you are correct. You are incorrect. You are wrong. You are a coward, as a matter of fact. If you sit there and you allow your flock to be eaten, you are a terrible shepherd. I don't think it's any coincidence that the Bible, we see the reference toward shepherd, shepherd, shepherd all the time. You have a flock. As a pastor, you have a flock. What do you do as a pastor when there is a lion that enters in and is going to kill and eat your flock? What do you do when a bear shows up? Well, we can look biblically to the example of David, historically before he killed Goliath, which frankly, many of these pastors, if you went out and killed Goliath, I can't even hardly wrap my head around the idea of one of these pastors going out and killing Goliath. But if you were to metaphorically meet your enemy on the battlefield and put a stone between their eyes and drop them dead, then cut their head off, you'd have a lot of these modern day Christian pastors who would be lecturing you about meekness to all of the strong men out there, the young men who recognize what time it is. If you went out and did what needed to be done to save your country, if you had the stomach to do what needs to be done, like, rounding up about 10, 15, 20, 30 million illegal aliens and promptly shipping them back from where they came, you would no doubt get a sermon on meekness and how instead you should be praying for Goliath. If you went out and slayed him, no, they would tell you that you need to be praying for Goliath instead. If you were, maybe to bring him some flowers, a kiss on the cheek, perhaps he would stop killing your family. When we look at the example of David in the Old Testament, before he killed Goliath, he was a shepherd. You know what he did whenever a lion entered into the pen to kill his flock? He killed it. You know what he did when the bear entered in to kill his flock? He killed it. Now, I'm not saying that you as a pastor have some sort of an obligation to go out and literally physically today start killing people. Lord, no, that is not what I'm saying. Don't anybody get any crazy ideas and then try to blame Victor for that, because that is the opposite of what I'm trying to say. But we are in a spiritual battle. The book of Ephesians very clearly tells us that we battle not against flesh and blood, but against darkness and principalities. We are in a spiritual war right now, and unfortunately, many of the commanders, the generals, are sitting idly by as they look at empty pews, because, you're running off your congregation, whether you know it or not. You're running off your congregation by not having the courage to stand up. They know. They're not stupid. Your congregants, they understand that there's tremendous evil all around them. They're desperately thirsting for truth, the truth of the gospel, the truth of the Bible. And if their pastor is not going to give it to them, they will find a good Bible-believing, courageous, bold church somewhere else. And so as you sit out there and you wonder, was I not seeker-friendly enough? Why are all of my pews empty? Why is it that nobody wants to listen to me? It's because you're a coward, and nobody wants to follow a coward. No man wants to follow a coward, especially not now. We need a spirit of the warrior these days. God makes different people. We're all different. But it does seem that there's maybe classes of people, that sort of thing, and not like a caste system. I'm not trying to go to India or something. What I'm saying is God makes warriors from time to time. He makes nurturers from time to time. I can see this even in my own family. I have certain siblings who are very, very loving, very nurturing. They have the purest heart. They show the heart of Christ, and it's such an admirable thing. And then you have other people in my family, myself perhaps included in this, where to me, it's I see certain things and I say, okay, it's time to pick up the sword. And there's different times where different approaches are justified. We are living in one such time where it is the obligation of the warriors to step forward, not necessarily even in a physical battle. This is one of the great blessings of our time, is we can fight a lot with the pen. We don't have to fight a lot with the sword. Now, if the day ever comes where we have to fight with the sword, that will also be something that we have to do. But right now we have the blessing of the opportunity to not do anything violent, to not have to go there, but instead to just have the courage to stand up and to take some of those arrows which will inevitably come your way. But you have a flock to defend, pastors. If you think that the city's church in St. Paul, Minneapolis, if you think that they're the only one that's going to have a target on their back, you are sadly mistaken, and you are a fool. Get your head out of the sand. Recognize the times that we are living in. There is an antichrist spirit, which is very clearly described by the Bible, which is absolutely present in this day and age, and it is ravenously trying to take over your flock. Will you sit idly by, and will you allow it to happen? You see, we are at a boiling point. We're getting there very close, and I don't think a lot of people are really appreciative of just how concerning, just how dangerous things are getting, and just how quickly they're getting there. If our nation has any hope of survival long term, that hope is found in Christ, and it will be delivered to the people through the churches. You have a heavy obligation to fulfill it. As we continue on talking about the attack at this church in Minnesota, I want to highlight a very important piece of this puzzle, and that is that the left is not rebuking this. The left is not joining together to say that this is some sort of an abhorrent attack. You know, by the way, did you know that it's actually it's against the Geneva Conventions in a time of war to target churches? Not even in a time of war are you allowed to target churches. It's like an international war crime. The left doesn't care. They're more than happy to deploy tactics which would otherwise, in certain circumstances, be described as a freaking war crime. They don't care. They don't care at all. In fact, they are celebrating this openly. Did you see CNN gathering together? We know whenever they're appalled about something, Lord, they sure let us know. They get on and, they have the House Select Committee, this, whatever, and they all get together and they have their little report on it, and they say, this is the most abhorrent attack on democracy. This is the worst thing since... They're more than happy to let us know whenever they're upset about something. They pearl clutch and they show their moral outrage more than just about anybody in the entire world. Yet, for some weird reason, very tellingly, I would say, they were eerily silent whenever it came to this topic. They didn't seem to have any issue with it, really. In fact, I've seen people go on cable television and defend it. I saw the transgender or whatever state elected official, the legislator, saying that this is an essential, this is something that we have to continue to do. This is people on social media with their whole face, their whole name, getting thousands of likes and retweets and all of this kind of stuff, describing how this is a beautiful sight. They love to see it. What you have to get into your head is that the left literally hates you. They hate Christianity. They hate your Christian family. They hate your Christian wife. They hate your children. They hate your politics, which are built upon a Christian worldview. They actually hate you. The highest good to the left is to see, or perhaps I should say to cause, Christian women and children to cry, Christian women and children to cower in fear, specifically inside the house of God. When you see the pictures from that attack, I want you to see your son, your daughter, your wife, your church family, because it wasn't just a one-off thing. They have already made very, very clear that their intention is to continue to do this. And so again, going back to the churches and to the church security teams, prepare accordingly, act accordingly. Don't allow herds of ravenous morons who are almost certainly in violation, by the way, of federal law, not that they really care. And real quick, we'll get back to this. We'll put a pin in it, and we'll circle back. As what was her name? Jin Saki used to always say, we'll circle back to this. When are we going to get some freaking arrests? Okay, I'm recording this, on Wednesday, so perhaps by the time you listen to it, maybe there will have been some arrests, and I'll have pie on my face for this. But I mean, we were told specifically by Kristi Noem that we were going to get some arrests. I'm not going to get into the tangent. I will return to that. Before I completely lose the train of thought here. But we have absolutely got to be conscious of the threat before us. If you're on a church security team, prepare accordingly, behave accordingly. Don't let mobs of lunatics come into your building. Don't let Don Lemon or anybody else, if they're trespassing, kick them out. Kick them out. We need good, honorable men of God to protect the flock. And say, no, actually, you're not coming in here. You should, by the way, if you're a church, you should have armed guards. You should have and not necessarily even just for these people, though, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You know how violent they're capable of getting, so it's always smart to protect yourself and your flock. But particularly from, any of the Islamic extremists, from the transgender extremists that would love to target a house of God, they have made clear that this is the highest good to them. To the rest of us, we see this and we think, oh my gosh, I mean, that's just horrible. And by the way, optically, yes, it is certainly terrible. But to them, No, to them, this is beautiful. And this is a perfect segue, by the way, to what happened to Jake Lang. Different because, the churchgoers are like totally innocent. They're not doing anything. Jake Lang, I think he would admit, is a bit of a provocateur at the very least. He's gone in like burned Qurans. I think he put bacon in like wrapped a Quran in bacon and walked around in a very Islamic section of Minnesota or whatever. So, you can understand that doesn't mean it's justified. Certainly it is not justified violence against him. But when you hear the story, you think, okay, well, I mean, that made sense. It's not justified to go and attack somebody who's doing that, but it makes sense. So it is a little bit different categorically, the gap between Jake Lang and these churchgoers. But when Jake Lang was nearly lynched, I mean, he was nearly ripped limb from limb. He was nearly murdered in the street. The police sat idly by and did basically nothing. Like I said, he was probably survived by a good Samaritan who came and was trying to protect him from the mob. He had to run away. I mean, they would have killed him. They would have ripped the man limb from limb. And at the same time, Jake Lang took a lot. Obviously, his was the most extreme example and the most egregious case, but he took a lot of PR away from. There were plenty of people who were just in Minneapolis and getting like jumped for no reason. They had nothing to do with it. Somebody in the mob would just declare that they were ICE. They weren't ICE. They had nothing to do with what was going on. But because the mob of left-wing insane people had declared them to be the enemy, they were chased down relentlessly. They were beaten. People were ripped out of their cars, essentially. Really wild stuff. I mean, wild stuff. Well, when Jake Lang, and a personal friend of mine, I've mentioned him on the program many, many times. We've had him on the show many times. He is actually a good friend, Cam Higbee. I love Cam Higbee, but Cam Higbee had seen a response from a guy named Harry Sisson. And Harry goes way back. I've debated him before. We've run in polar opposite circles, but kind of in a similar world. We came up on TikTok around the same time. Harry Sisson is a Democrat hack. He's about my age, somewhere in that neck of the woods. He posted making fun of Jake Lang, relishing in the fact that this man was nearly beaten to death, nearly lynched by an angry mob of Islamic extremists. Well, for one, I mean, can we be honest enough to say, like, it's not exactly a win when Jake Lang's whole idea is that Islam is incompatible with the West, and then they see free speech and they try to kill him? Yeah, you kind of proved his point. He said that you wouldn't be peaceful people. He said that you couldn't handle, criticism, or you would get violent. You'd start trying to jihad him, and then that's literally exactly what happened. So, it's kind of like that old thing. Well, you better not say anything mean about me, or I'm going to prove you correct. Okay, that's something. But no, Harry was making fun of Jake because he was brutally attacked by a mob of about 40, 50, 60 people, depending on the exact moment in time. And my good friend Cam said, Harry, you're better than this. And this is a point of disagreement that I would have with Cam on this one, is I don't think that these people are better than that. Sometimes we fall into this thinking of saying, oh, well, you're better than this. You're better than that. The left is better than this. Yeah, well, potentially, maybe if they come to Christ, yeah, I mean, anybody can be saved through the shed blood of Christ on the cross. I'm not trying to say that there's the left is beyond salvation, certainly not. But what I am saying is whenever these people have made themselves your declared sworn enemy, when they've said that they will celebrate your death, if you, like Charlie Kirk, are to be shot in the throat in front of the entire world and die a brutal death in front of everybody, they will not wait for you to be buried. They won't wait for anything. They will immediately start dancing on your grave. No, they're not better than that. That is exactly who they are. They're just showing you who they are. When they show you or when they tell you who they are, just simply believe them. Don't try to say, no, that's not really them. No, that's not really. This isn't a Marvel movie, okay? You're not Batman. You're not going to talk them out of it. You're not going to go to the Joker and be like, hey, Mr. Joker, actually, maybe don't blow up the hospital. You should shoot the Joker. Like, that's the reality. And no, don't go do something stupid. I'm not saying violence against Harry. But what I am saying is you have to acknowledge who they are, and you have to respond accordingly. The threat's not going to go away because you close your eyes. All right, I told you we would put a pin in a conversation and we would Jen Psaki circle our way back to it. And I'm a man of my word. We're going to talk about this because it's a huge issue, and we might dedicate this entire segment to it. It's funny. I'm going to give you a little bit of a roundabout. What does Trump call it? The weave. I'm going to weave this story together for you. It's funny what's going on. around us. I was recently, prior to some of the events, I was recently speaking actually with my mother. I was up visiting family, and so I was speaking to my mom about this, and I was saying, what's interesting is that we all have this desire, like we love a good vigilante story. We'll hear about the injustices around us and we'll think, man, wouldn't it be like some pedophile, right? You hear the story of some pedophile who gets away. The justice system fails. And it happens all day long. It happens all around us. There's some repeat offender, some guy who just keeps beating women, or he's just a rapist, or he's a child abuser. You hear these stories of these just demented, evil people, or up in these blue areas where you have these Soros DAs, where they just continue to release these people back into the town, back into the town, back into the town. They victimize another woman. They victimize another person. They stab somebody like the Irina Zarutska in the neck, and she dies for literally no freaking reason. You hear these stories, and it's like everybody likes a vigilante movie. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Law Abiding Citizens. It's a gory movie, but it's a very successful movie, very popular movie, because everybody sees that and they think, you know what, there is some sort of a need. And by the way, I'm not just trying to make like some sort of an elevator pitch for vigilantism. I actually think it's condemned. If you're a Christian, you're not to be a vigilante. The state is the one that has been given biblically. I mean, you read, what is it, Romans chapter 12, Romans chapter 13. It is the government that was given the sword, and so it's theirs to wield. But when the government doesn't effectively wield the sword, it makes the people want to take things into their own hands. And the fact that we even think these thoughts, the fact that we even hear these stories and we see and we think, man, I wish somebody would go, somebody, right, you've heard some 90-year-old man that's like a war veteran with cancer. Why doesn't he just go and take out that pedophile? You hear this kind of stuff, and you have this fondness toward the thought of somebody going and doing that. And inherently, like in your soul, that it's not actually correct. That's not the way that society is meant to be. It's not meant to be vigilante justice. It's not meant to be this way. But the fact that we all almost universally have that interesting desire for somebody to go and do something like that in our heart, even if we admit it to be wrong, it's like one of those things where it just tugs, and it's in the back of your head, and you're like, man, why doesn't somebody go take out that pedophile? Why doesn't somebody go, do that? The only reason that you even have those thoughts, that you even get the warm and fuzzies about that kind of a thing, that in and of itself is an indictment upon our justice system. That means that the system has so thoroughly failed us that virtually everyone in this society, all 300 and something million Americans, sit down and we think, yeah, somebody, what a world where we're thinking about vigilante justice being a desirable alternative to the failed system that we have right now. That's not good. That is not good. And now, weaving the story back together, we have a attorney general in Pam Bondi who has been a complete failure. I mean, a complete failure. Perhaps she's done good on the little things, but the big ticket stuff, the Epstein handling, that was the biggest blunder I've ever seen out of the first Trump administration, the second Trump administration. That was profoundly horrible. That is one of the worst. It's unbelievable to me, actually, that she's still the attorney general. And you can go back. I have record. I have this on record. I defended Pam Bondi in the very beginning because it was very early. She'd made some lofty promises, but it was really, really early, and people were starting to beat on her door and say that she needs to resign, she needs to do this or that. And in the very beginning, I said, no, give her a chance. Give her a chance. I have the proof. The proof is in the archives here on the show. And I said, give her some time. It takes a little bit of time. Maybe she's trying to make sure she gets this stuff right. Maybe the prosecutions are going to come. Let's circle back in a year. Well, it's been a year. It's actually been just a little bit over a year since Pam Bondi has been the attorney general. Have we had any real arrests? Have we had anything? Have we had any, big developments whenever it comes to election integrity? Have we had any big developments when it comes to putting in prison the people who weaponized the justice system against President Trump and against the pro-lifers and against the J6ers? Have we had really anything whenever it comes to that? No. Similar could be said, by the way, of Kash Patel, who okay, there's maybe been a couple of things where it's like, yeah, that's good. Promises made, kinda-ish, sort of kept, but really not really. I mean, what are we doing right now? What is going on? I'm so sick and freaking tired. I'm just going to tell you this like it is. I'm going to tell you it from the heart, and if people don't like it, I don't really care. The fact of the matter is, I am sick and tired of watching Pam Bondi or anybody else go on Fox freaking News and yap to a bunch of people and blow smoke up your butt and tell you, oh, we're about to go and arrest people. or if it's Kristi Noem. I don't know what the heck is going on here, man. I mean, like 48 hours as I record this, Kristi Noem told us that we were going to be having arrests within the hour. She went on Fox News, which talk about a stupid idea that is. You go on the news and then you tell all of these perps that you're going to go arrest them in a couple of hours. Gee, what a brilliant idea that is. Talk about scattering all of your suspects. Would they go into hiding or something? You can't find them. Even if so, that's your fault. You went on Fox News and you told everybody that you were about to do it. Stop telling me what you're going to do. Stop it. This is a general criticism of the entire Trump administration, even going up so far as Donald Trump himself. Stop telling me what you're going to do, especially if you're Pam freaking Bondi or if you're Kristi Noem or if you're anybody else, man. I don't know what this is. Is this some sort of like, they think it's Gilmore Girls, or they think that this is some kind of a reality television show or something like that? You have to get all of the attention. You have to get as many Fox News hits as is humanly possible. I'm about to say that we need to present legislation to ban the Attorney General from doing more than one media hit per week. I mean, this is absurdity. What are you doing? Why are you telling us that you're going to go and do all these things and then none of it freaking happens, man? We still haven't had the Epstein list, and I think that there's a little bit of that does involve an Obama judge, and there's some holdups and stuff like that. Okay, I'm going to try and not be super unreasonable about the Epstein thing, but you still rolled out phase 1. What the heck was even that? What was that garbage? This is maybe she's a really nice person who's just out of her depth. I don't know. I wouldn't be a good attorney general. I would be a terrible attorney general, but hopefully at least I would have the decency to say, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I'll step down and I'll give the reins to somebody who's going to do it, who's fit for the occasion, who's cut from the correct cloth to actually go and make sure these things happen. But talk about profound stupidity to go over and over and over again. It's like every night I see another clip from Sean Hannity or from Jesse Waters or from somebody else on Fox News, no shade on the hosts, but who are interviewing Pam Bondi, and Pam Bondi makes all these lofty promises about how she's about to do this, they're about to do that, and it could be election integrity, it could be the previous elections, it could be the weaponization of the Department of Justice, or it could be this stuff where you have these people barging into a church. Let me tell you, this is in such direct violation of the FACE Act. Many of you know that one of the hats that I wear in life is working in the pro-life movement. The FACE Act has been used to persecute and prosecute good, faithful Christians who are doing peaceful sit-ins at abortion facilities. They've been sentenced to like 11 years in federal prison because they happen to stand inside of the building at an abortion facility, not hurting anybody, not harming anybody, not doing anything, but oftentimes, singing and praise and worship and stuff like that. They get 11 years in federal freaking prison. The Biden administration rounded these people up. Thank goodness that Trump pardoned them, which is for real amazing. I'm very grateful for him for having done that. But the FACE Act, it's twofold. You have part 1 of the FACE Act, which is about blocking the entrance to an abortion facility, and part 2 is about a house of worship. It's about going into churches, people who do the same disruptive behavior, so they call it. I don't really think that what they do, I think what they do in the Operation Rescue is absolutely fantastic. Doing the sit-ins at abortion facilities. They're murdering children there, which is inherently different than churches. But anyway, when they go and sit in at a abortion facility, they get 11 years in federal freaking prison. This is as clear-cut of a FACE Act violation as I have ever seen. Barging into a church like that, they weren't welcome. They're supposed to be leaving, but they don't want to leave. You have Don Lemon being told directly that it's time for him to go. I want to see Don Lemon in freaking handcuffs. I want to see Don Lemon dragged out of his house at 2 a.m. in his underwear, like they did to like they did to Roger Stone, like they did to all of these different high-profile conservatives that had anything to do with January 6th in any capacity, no matter how small. They drug them out of their home in their freaking underwear, guns drawn at 3 a.m. while their wife and children are sitting there bewildered and mortified as to why the father of their family is being dragged out from federal officers in the middle of the night. I want to see Don Lemon drug out of his house in the middle of the night. I want to see these people arrested. I want to see every single one of those people. The federal government was able to track down how many people was it for January 6th? Anybody, you could have shown the tip of your pinky finger 3 blocks away from the Capitol, and they would have traced it somehow and found you. They found everybody who went into the Capitol building on January 6th. Why are we not seeing mass arrests? And listen, I understand it can take some time. You got to get a warrant. You got to get this. You got to get that. The Biden administration, what are they, just 5 times more competent than you? Are you just stupid? Did you hit your head? Because they were able to get this stuff very quickly. They were able to use the full might of the government against their political opponents. And I'm not saying we just go against our political opponents. I'm saying we go against people who have broken the law. If you break into a freaking church, it shouldn't have to be the churchgoers who are wondering, how are we going to prevent this in the future? It should be the Department of Justice laying the hammer, swinging the sword so viciously that nobody ever even thinks twice about ever doing something that profoundly stupid ever again. You don't get to target houses of worship. You don't get to storm into a Christian church and traumatize the women and children inside and have the Department of Justice sit there on Fox News and say, well, we're going to do something about it. Do it. Stop telling me. Start showing me. Walk in, do your job. You have the technology. You have the manpower. You have the resources. There is literally no excuse whatsoever as to why these people at the time of me recording this have not been arrested. Now, Lord willing, by the time that you listen to this program, whether that's in 5 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, Lord willing, at the time that you listen to this, you think, Victor, oh, I'm so glad that you are worked up. You were very passionate, but look at you with all the egg on your face. You look like such a dork because now they've arrested all these people. I will thank God for real. I will be so happy. I'll be posting on social media. I'll be posting on X. I'll be making videos about it. You have my word. I will be more than happy to talk about it. I will be singing the praises and delivering the flowers where flowers are due. The day that these people get arrested, but based on the track record that we have seen thus far, do you think I should hold my breath? Do you think that I should be waiting for the moment that Pam Bondi finally gets these guys, that she finally goes and arrests these people? You know, that's perhaps the most dangerous boiling point of all. When the government will no longer swing the sword, which is the authority that's been given to them biblically, when the government will no longer swing the sword of justice against evildoers, who will? See, because there does come a day. There does come a time. I've been warning about this for a long time. In fact, I've been warning about this probably for 2 years now, and I've been saying the same message ever since the very beginning. I do not want people to I don't want this to happen. I don't want people to be taking things into their own hands. I don't want people to become black-pilled and say, we can't vote our way out of this. I don't want people to be thinking, oh, well, we just need to go and meet the left in a head-on war. I don't want that to happen. In fact, the reason that for 2 years probably I've been talking about this topic where a lot of people just kind of laugh it off and they don't think it's that big of a deal is because I genuinely believe that it is a real possibility that the people are about to take things into their own hands. There are only so many neighborhoods that can burn. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are only so many churches that can be invaded. There are only so many times that we can get shafted over and over and over again while the government does nothing, does not fulfill their end of the social contract. You ever heard the social contract theory? If not, look into it. But they have their end of the bargain. The government has to uphold their end of the bargain. And if they're not going to, then who's going to protect the church? Who's going to protect the innocent? Who's going to protect the elderly? If it's not going to be them, then it's going to have to be the people. And Lord willing, I hope it's the good people that step up and do it in a good and biblical and honorable way. But if history teaches us anything, that's not what's going to happen. It's almost certainly not going to happen. It devolves into the law, the rule of the jungle. And that's a scary thought. That's a really, really scary thought. And if we don't start seeing some progress soon, I'm going to get more and more concerned. But I'm telling you, man, Fox News is not the place. Pam Bondi, I don't think that you're listening to my show, but if you are, please just do it. Please, just do it. Don't tell me about it anymore. The next thing I see from you on television, I really hope, is you giving a presser about how you just arrested Don Lemon and every single person that had anything to do with that, and every single person that had anything to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination. Unfortunately, I'm not holding my breath. Well, my friend, we are now in the fourth and final segment of today's show. If you have enjoyed it thus far, be sure to share the show, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening on, I don't know, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or on the radio. Make sure that you tell somebody where they can come and find this show. Now, I mentioned at the intro of today's program that there was an amazing new resource that was released by the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And if you want to follow along, well, for the YouTube viewers, I'll be putting it up on screen now. But for the radio listeners or anybody else podcast, you can go to dhs.gov/wow. And what you'll see is this amazing resource by Homeland Security. And it's the catalog of some of the worst of the worst. So I haven't looked at this very far. I told you we were just going to go and randomly pull a couple of them. I had pulled it up just to make sure that the website was legit and all that stuff, but I haven't read through hardly any of the catalog of people. And so we're just going to scroll. So the left has said, the context of this is there was some dork went on CNN and they said, show me the proof that we have illegal aliens who are being, the worst of the worst, I should say, illegal aliens who are being arrested by DHS because they want to paint the picture that it's just a bunch of innocent old ladies. It's just old grandmas who somehow, I don't know, they were dementia patients that got off a plane at the wrong stop and they've just lived their entire life not knowing that they were an illegal alien here or something like that. So anyways, DHS responds and they put out this awesome new resource where they list some of the worst of the worst of the worst. So if you have somebody come to you and they say, oh, well, what's the proof? Who are these bad people? Or if you see somebody who's defending, like disrupting ICE, I want you to pull up this resource. And I want you to show it to them. Or you could just, rattle off a couple of these examples. So oh my goodness, we're starting off with some bangers here. We have the first individual. He is from Somalia. He was arrested in, who would have guessed, Minneapolis, Minnesota. His name is Shahal Osman Shidane, something like that. Convicted of, so these are not allegations, these are convictions, prior convictions, convicted of criminal sexual conduct of the fourth degree with a victim 13 to 15 years old. He's a freaking pedophile. The very first one. I'm telling you, it's not like I couldn't have even done it. I'm not technologically literate enough to have orchestrated this any better than that. The very first person, live as we scroll through this together, the very first person that we come across is a Somalian pedophile. That's who the left is defending. When you see them driving around in Minneapolis, toot toot, with their little whistles, and they're trying to alert everybody in the area that ICE is coming. ICE is coming. Yeah, well, we have this guy from Somalia. We have another one. Let's see. This is a big guy. He's from Laos. He has been convicted of assault, aggravated assault. We have aggravated assault with a weapon. We have threat, terrorist state offenses. Good Lord, he was arrested in Minnesota as well. So this guy is a bad guy. He's been assaulting people with weapons, terrorist stuff. We have another guy convicted of sexual assault. Not a great looking guy. He's from El Salvador. And he was arrested again in Minnesota. A lot of people, it looks like, from Minnesota. We have a guy from Mexico. He's convicted of homicide. Casual. Just casual thing, right? They're just trying to pick the crops, guys. They're just trying to, what is it the left always says? Clean your toilets. They're just trying to pick the crops and clean your toilets and work the jobs that the Americans don't want to work. Just ignore that gang affiliation. He has gang affiliation with Sir 13. Not one that I've heard of before, but probably pretty bad guys. Assault, and most notably on his is, of course, homicide. We have another guy. This one is from Laos. He has assault and aggravated assault with a gun. We have another guy from Laos. A lot of Laotians. I wouldn't have expected this on the DHS website. But, the left, they always say it's just Mexicans. They're just going after brown people. Well, these are Asians. These are Laotians. Like Khan Supanusinphone from King of the Hill. And so, anyways, this guy has homicide, stolen property, stolen vehicle, assault, homicide. We have willful kill, non-family weapon. He's in a gang called the Oriental Boys. I didn't make that one up. I promise. It's on the screen. We have another one. He's from Vietnam. Carrying a prohibited weapon, possession of a stolen vehicle, sexual assault, possession of a weapon, and rape. So we've scrolled through 5 of these. We have a murderer, a pedophile, and a rapist. But don't worry, guys. They're just trying to clean your toilets. Don't worry, guys. They're just as American as you or me. I know that they broke into the country illegally and raped and murdered and all that kind of stuff, but it's okay. It's okay. We have another guy. He's from Cuba. Convicted of the sale of amphetamines, domestic violence. We have a dangerous drugs conviction, cocaine, possession of weapons, probation violation, assault. Man, Minnesota is, these guys are all from Minnesota, it looks like. A lot of them. This is crazy. We have another one here. He's from Mexico. His conviction is of sexual assault and rape. Casual. We have one from Sierra Leone. Convicted, this looks to be a woman or a really ugly man, convicted of homicide and burglary. We have a guy from Somalia here. I'm not going to try and pronounce these names because, frankly, this looks like alphabet soup. Abdullah Kahar Shaliga Abdi. Dude, I don't know. I can't pronounce that. He has been convicted of fraud. Shocker. Probation violations, receiving stolen property, vehicle theft, and receiving a stolen vehicle. He has gang affiliation with the Vice Lord Nation. Whatever that is. We have another guy from Somalia. He's been eating well. He is sexual abuse of a minor, so yet another freaking pedophile. We have two freaking pedophiles. Page 1, I didn't even get to page 2, and we had how many pedophiles? Somebody in the comments on YouTube, let me know how many it was. We have an Afghani who has been arrested for kidnapping and rape. Yeah, that's not so cool. We have a guy from Mexico, rape with a weapon, robbery, kidnapping an adult to sexually assault the adult. The same gang, by the way, that's Sir 13. So they're popping up. This guy was actually arrested in Nevada. Interestingly enough, we have a Venezuelan, assault and larceny. We have a guy here from El Salvador, assault, aggravated assault of a police officer, strong arming, robbery. We have weapon possession. We have gang affiliation, MS-13. We know that one. Another Somalian guy here, domestic violence, possession of a weapon, burglary, forced entry of a residence, and homicide. We have another homicide. That's nice. We have another guy here from Honduras. Sexual assault, neglecting a child, and the molestation of a minor. How long do I need to scroll through this list before the left will accept the fact that these are not just people who are here to pick some crops, that they're just as American as you and I. That's okay. We'll give a few more, maybe for good measure. We have a Cuban individual, a little bit of an older guy here, battery, sex offense against a child, fondling. We have assault, burglary, forced entry of a residence. Dear Lord. I mean, so another pedophile. We have another guy here, last one, I guess, Vietnam, rape with a weapon. Aggravated assault, we have sexual assault, we have kidnapping, we have all sorts of stuff. Weapon offenses, intimidation. I mean, what is it that Trump said? Bad hombres? We have some people who are not supposed to be here. This is the bread and butter. So, of course, the goal is to start with these people first. By the way, of course, one of the common, I guess, criticisms from people on the left is they'll say, well, okay, go after these guys, sure, but you're just arresting anybody. You're arresting anybody who's been here. Yeah, anybody who's illegal. Yeah, okay, listen, I'll be super square with you. I'll be very transparent. Even if you're not a rapist, even if you've not murdered somebody, even if you're not a pedophile, if you're here illegally, the punishment for that is still to be deported. So you can self-deport, you can turn yourself in, you can go peacefully like a normal person would, or you can go totally nuts and you can act like a fool and you can fight police, you can try and hit them with a shovel, you can try and run them over with your car, but that'll make it a much more undesirable experience. If you're somebody you don't want to be like brutalized by the police, maybe don't try to kill them. Maybe don't try to attack federal law enforcement officers, and the temperature might go down surrounding this. People, I don't want to have the armed ICE agents. I don't want to have this mass enforcement. You have to have that. You absolutely have to. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. If you want to have an America of Americans, by Americans, and for Americans, you have to get out the people who aren't supposed to be here. We have an identity crisis. We've talked about this before at great length here on the show. If we want to get our country back, we cannot continue to allow the importation of people from the rest of the world. We can't. If you import the third world, you will become the third world. It's just a reality of life. Really quickly, because I said we were going to get to this, we're running out of time on today's show. I do want to touch on Democrats in Virginia because strange priorities, I touched on this in a video. They have been in power for like 10 minutes in the state of Virginia, the Democrats have. And they have decided that one of their first orders of business is to remove the minimum sentencing for rape, manslaughter, and child pornography. The minimum sentences. So, I heard somebody try to defend this, and they're like, well, don't you want a judge to have more discretion and judgment whenever it comes to these cases? No, actually, no, I don't. I don't want to have a Soros-appointed judge letting off a rapist. Call me crazy, or somebody in possession of child porn. No, I think that they should be getting the minimum, which is like life in manual labor. Federal prison, something like that. Anyways, that's all the time we have. Till next time, keep me in your prayers. Keep your country in your prayers. God bless.